We are live.
Well, fantastic.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Bow Wow Bill live stream. I have the marvelous Adrienne joining us. Adrienne, how the heck are you?
I'm doing really well. It's really humid. Is that an answer for how you're feeling?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you're a humid human right now.
Oh, it's sticky out here.
I'm not a big fan of humidity.
I'm all right with it in general, to a degree.
I don't like it.
I don't know how few people in Houston or Florida live.
Yeah, Florida. I was down there, and man, oh man, it's so humid. And then you go walking into a store, and it's like freezing, because of the
right, the overcompensation.
Yep, and you start sweating, and because of the humidity, and then there you go. So what I'm going to do is, here, let me get to my page. We already have some people joining us. Hello, everybody. I'm going to share this like I usually do to Dogs Chatting, and then to Triple R. And while I do that, and everybody else who's watching, go ahead and hit that share button as well. People need to know who Adrienne is. She's a wonderful gal, and we're going to get into what she does. But until we do that, would you want to make a quick introduction, tell people a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I live outside of Austin, Texas, in a town called Bastrop. I'm about 40 minutes from downtown. We just got this 6 acres that we're on right now that we're trying to develop. About, what are we at, 6 months ago now, 7 months ago.
Oh, you just bought it, that's right.
Yeah, it's pretty new. It's still kind of ugly. A lot of trash to clean up thanks to the people who rented this place before us. I've lost count of the number of, things nobody wants to find. Before I moved to Austin, I was in the Army for 5 years. That's where I met my husband.
Okay.
We got out of the military in 2014, and I used my GI Bill for 2 more years. I'd already had 4 years of college, never graduated, couldn't figure out what I actually wanted to stick with. Did that again for 2 years or so when we got out, and finally I'd had enough. I was frustrated. My husband was like, you like dogs, go train them. I was like, can I do that? Is that a thing? And
you need permission. You're
more than that, it was a really awesome shove and a lot of encouragement. And so he actually was like, yes, there's a school up here, and it takes the GI Bill, and you enroll right now. So I went to Starmark in 2016, and after I graduated, I worked there as a trainer for a year. After I worked there, I worked at a gun dog kennel out here on this side of Austin as well, Red Mark Kennels, fabulous place. Learned a lot. I feel like more pet dog trainers should cross-train with gun dogs. I think it's amazing. Yeah. And then I finished up there and started my own gig out here.
Awesome, possum. And the other thing that I like is that you're new. You're new to the game, and so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to chat with you today. There's a lot of people that watch this that might be dipping their toe into the dog training industry, and I just wanted to ask you, as somebody who's new, what that's like and some of your observations. And here's Kelly just says, you get used to it. Florida is great. Michigan is just way too cold. Yeah, I agree.
I'm originally from Idaho. Well, so's Bill. So
that's right. Represent.
I'll visit. I
represent. What do you do for the gang?
I don't think that Idaho gets or ever should have any kind of
gang site.
Yeah, I like to go visit and snowboard for a little bit, but I'm not very good at it, and prefer cross country. And a week is all I need, and then I want to come back here. So.
Yeah, Idaho's not that humid at all.
No, it's opposite.
No. So you were in the Army. You had a GI Bill. You have a supportive husband that noticed that you like dogs. You did some soul searching, and then you were like, "Could I do that?"
I didn't think it was I had zero knowledge of the industry or that it was something that really existed. I knew nothing. When we got out of the military, we did everything wrong, but it worked out really well for us. But my husband
in what way?
He was blown up. He was blown up while we were in Afghanistan.
Okay.
And so he suffered a brain injury and a couple other things, and as well as PTS and anxiety. And when we got back after a very short period of time, probably a little less than a year, we decided it would probably be really good for him to have a service dog. And so we bought all the taglines in the culture and in the industry that is out there right now and went to a rescue. Wonderful rescue, by the way. But they are called Texas Humane Heroes. They kind of turn homeless dogs into service dogs if they fit whatever their criteria are. I honestly don't know what they are at this point. I'm not very familiar with how they operate. But we got this dog. He hadn't even been vetted. He was on the floor, and we were like, we'll make that work. So we got him. We got the wonderful book, How to Train Your Own Service Dog. Taught him how to alert on anxiety and how to do how to give pressure and how to build some space and a really crappy place command. And the dog on his own actually started waking Alex up from dreams and me from bad dreams. And after he learned his anxiety protocol, and we thought that was just splendid. So he went everywhere with Alex for a while. And then of course we took him to our, token we're good owners. So this is what good owners do. Purely positive basic obedience class, which I think we went to about 5 or 6 out of 8 of the actual classes.
And this was before you were a trainer, before anything. This was just basically you wanted to help out your husband with some issues that
this was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
5 years ago. This was 5 years ago. Yeah, and we thought that was all like pretty darn good.
Sam Tabar. Hey, Sammy Kins. He says, hey, I know her. And,
hey, I hung out with that guy this morning.
Anita says, thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you. It was an honor. It was a lot of fun sometimes. Sometimes it wasn't. But yeah, so that's how I really got started with dogs, I guess, is I was really fascinated by that process. Having no understanding, I just thought it was fascinating that I could teach a dog to do something.
And then what did you think of these positive classes and the relationship that was forming between your husband and this dog that was his service dog?
I thought that was all wonderful. I didn't know anything about what the class was really supposed to. I didn't have any criteria. I knew nothing. I knew my dog enjoyed it. I knew we enjoyed it, and I knew that it was really fun to do stuff with my dog, besides just playing a really crappy game of fetch, because Basset Hound things don't play fetch well. You?
Cool. You froze there for a little bit. I don't know what's going on, but so then you got involved 3 years ago. In 2016 you went to Starmark, and
yep.
So tell me about that. Tell me about, first off, so Starmark used to be Triple Crown Training Academy in Austin, Texas. Right. I'm familiar with it. And yep. How was your experience there? And you said that you saw it because they accepted the GI Bill, which is money that that Americans are received for the Army, right?
Mm-hmm. Any military branch, it can be part of your contract, where if you have that added into your contract with the military, then once you get out, you can use that. It's money that's available to help you get through school. So yeah, the fact that the school was really close to where we were and took the GI Bill, because we were poor, extremely, made that a no-brainer, because it was kind of something that I didn't have to have too much real skin in the game, and I could really get to know whether or not I wanted to do this long term. Of course, working the way that I work, it didn't really matter that I didn't have much monetary skin in the game. I worked really hard there. I loved the program. When I got accepted and I was about to start the program, I said, well, we all know that they use things that really shouldn't be used. So as soon as I get out of this, I know that Victoria Stillwell has an online program, so I'm going to definitely follow this up with that. And, there's no way that these people can force me to put a prong collar on my dog. Yeah. I brought 4. Did I bring 4? I brought Wallace, a foster. So I brought Wallace and a foster, and then they assign you a rescue dog, which I love that part of the program as well. They assign you a rescue dog to work, and my first one ended up having a torn ACL. So for a while there, I had 2 rescue dogs, but then the first one went back, so I ended up with 3 altogether. But I loved it. Yeah, I never looked back. I was like, oh, okay, actually, this is how it works.
Right. So what was your biggest thing? I mean, what was like the biggest wake up moment of like, oh wow, this is how professionals do it versus
Honestly,
this is
way before we
what
got our
feels
hands on a
good.
dog, it was learning about the science, the quadrants. We went through a book called How Dogs Learn. It's very
Okay.
similar to accelerated learning, which is really popular.
I think I got it here somewhere.
Yeah, it can be a little dry, but I found it fascinating. I read it twice. I read it before I even went, and then I read it when I was there. And it really,
I don't know where it's at.
it makes common sense. It makes sense. Is what it was. So before I even had hands on a dog, really, I was like, okay. So then they started actually showing us how to do things and the tools. And I mean, Starmark definitely has its unique curriculum. There's a lot of Keeler-esque things that are taught there, but a lot of treats, a lot of rewards, a lot of toys, a lot of emphasis on markers. And really what it is, just like probably any 3-month school or shadow program, is a way to try to just dip your toes into as many little pies, as fingers into pies, toes into pools, I don't know, as possible.
Dip your toes into a pie if you want.
In a short amount of time, with the overall focus being on pet dog training, working with clients, and getting dogs off leash, obedience trained. Not to like an AKC ring standard, but
e-collar. Okay.
Yeah, not every student gets to train with an e-collar, because if the student only has if they don't have a personal dog, if the dogs that are training don't belong to them, with the contracts at least when I was there, the contracts that they have with the rescues, they are not allowed to put an e-collar on a dog.
Interesting.
So they would have to watch, but I had a couple personal dogs, so yeah, I was like in a working spot for that portion.
Yeah, it's interesting the stigma that's towards these e-collars when it's just another tool. It's just another tool used to communicate with dogs. And then after that, I mean, and they emphasize markers. That makes sense,
Yeah, we did stick training. We did a little bit of service dog tasking. I mean, granted, you never knew what dog anybody had to work with, so they had to keep it pretty simple. But things like heeling and turning and stopping with a wheelchair, switching sides on a wheelchair, being told to go under a table, pulling off a sock, which is the worst thing I've ever taught a dog in my life. The dog still won't. I have to hide to take my socks off. Well, I mean, I don't have to, but unless I need to put them on, he really still wants to just taunt my foot and take off that sock. Yes, he loves that behavior. Turning on and off lights. They did a motivational retrieve, a lot of different tricks. We had a list of a bunch of tricks, and we had to complete a certain number of them. With our dogs.
If that wind chime gets any worse, I might have you swoop into the side or something. Yeah, just
take this down. I'll just remove it.
Just army that stuff. Just army that.
You're killing my zen.
I'm sorry. Your zen's killing my audio.
Is that better?
That's good. Thank you, buddy.
Good. No problem. And we also did dock diving. We did a little bit of protection, search and rescue. And those weren't scored tests or anything. It was just like, hey, here's how you get started in those fields. They exist. So, by the way, it was more like these fields exist, and it's kind of what it looks like. Agility was the same way, but we did get scores on that for just basic agility skills. They have an AKC standard set out there.
Okay.
Oh man, what else? Nose work. So they did the beginnings of narcotics.
A lot of information.
Yeah, they did the beginnings of narcotics and then just regular nose works. So nose works, they taught food motivated, like external rewards, and internal rewards, and then with narcotics it was external toy reward.
Here, I got some ready. The search rescue dog. This bad boy, search and rescue dog, training the search and rescue dog. I like search and rescue. And then we have the lost person behavior book too, that you have to kind of understand both sides of the coin of the psychology of where to look at the terrain. I mean, that's what's so cool about dogs, man, is that it's not just cut and dry dog training. This is what it is. I mean, there's so many different fields, so many niches that you can get yourself into that I don't think people realize. And I also don't think they realize that there's schools like this out there. I think that people just try, and we talked about this earlier when we were speaking, I think yesterday, about the IACP conference where you and I met, and how you feel like you were you could kind of keep
I
up.
expected to show up. Of course, and this I want to caveat this by saying I have so much to learn, but I expected to show up completely drowning in awe and information, and really I showed up being able to follow deeper conversations, to participate in conversations. I didn't feel overwhelmed. Obviously it was extremely eye-opening. I'm completely addicted to it. Unless something really bad happens, I will be at conference. But I really appreciate my education at that school because it really set me up to then go explore whatever it is I want to explore and kind of be able to start from a solid foundation.
I've been impressed by all the people that I've met that have graduated the various schools, and I highly recommend them for people that if they're trying to bridge that gap in getting into the dog industry.
I think if you can swing it, it could save you a lot of time trying to figure it out on your own.
Yes, and I figured a lot out on my own.
I know mentorship is I've never had a one-on-one mentor. However, when I was there, I had a teaching staff of 5. They all had their individual experience and individual styles, individual niches that they loved the most.
Yep.
And I could get one-on-one time with each and every one of them, and it was kind of like an immersion experience. You can ask my husband; he never saw me. I was there 7 days a week from probably 3:30 to 4 in the morning, no lie. Till I'm not a night person till at most 8 p.m. Although other students would do the opposite, like 8 in the morning when we had to be there till like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Working and studying. There's the book. They did all the book stuff. We had written tests, and then they did all the practical stuff too. It was a great way to start.
Well, I can't wait to do the NePoPo. We got off the interview with Bart Bell yesterday, and you said that you're going to the Silver, and I am too, in Missouri in November. And I hear that that's pretty intense as well.
Yeah, if I say it here, it means it's official. I am going to Silver School in November.
There we go. And it'll be at the conference too. And speaking of the conference, if you have till June 30th to buy your tickets. Otherwise, they go up, I think, $100.
Mm-hmm.
And so get to Canine Professionals. Let me write that on the
and the
comments
hotel
here.
This year is only $129 a night.
Crap! I need to get on my hotel too. Canine.
We need to get those too.
Professionals.com. Okay, so tell me about now. You get out of there and then you go to the dog, the sport dog, gun dog. What were the biggest differences, and what did you learn there? Because you said I recommend people go into there.
It's a really interesting. It was a change of paradigm. It's a shift for me. Obviously, the gun dog world has a very unique subculture in the industry. There are a lot of unique subcultures, and this one, the head trainer over there also graduated from Starmark, so I expected there to be like a lot of continuity. But besides learning how new skills are taught, learning different versions and ways to teach force fetch, there's not just one way. It should be as versatile as you are with any other tool and any other process with any dog. But the lifestyle itself, but also how the e-collar was used. I think the biggest thing for me was how the e-collar was used. And before I had the words for it, at Starmark, we were taught basically what is written out in the Tritronics book for teaching the gun dog e-collar.
Really?
Which
okay.
I own that book. It's packed up in a box somewhere.
I got an old one.
Unpacked. But yeah, you probably have it. And what it definitely goes through, what it basically goes through is after the dog already knows his obedience, you do escape conditioning, and then you go into avoidance conditioning, and you start with, there's no intermediate phase or intermittent phase, so that's also a new concept for me. You go from escape to avoidance, and when you do escape, you do recall first, then you do stays, then you do sendaways. And that's the way they do things, because they want the dog always to have a default for recall if he's not sure, which makes sense. And then from there, they go to escape. So that's how I was taught. That's how the e-collar was used. That was it. It's basically the same way I would use a slip leash and then move up to a leash and a prong, or something like that.
Keeler method, we teach recall very last.
Yeah. I think it depends on what you want, though, right? The behavior with the longest reward history is going to be the stickiest behavior. But at the ranch over there, they were doing things with e-collars that I could not categorize. And it wasn't until quite a bit later, I was watching a Larry Crone video and love the guy so much. I don't get a chance. I can't watch everything he puts out there, but he mentioned
can't wait to meet Larry at IACP this year.
He's cool. But he's called it activation, and I was like, that's the word I wanted. They're activating the dogs on a pretty high stim to tell them it's out there, go get it. The dog's like, yeah, and he runs out and gets it. It's not forcing the dog already wants to. The dog wants to go get the bird.
It's like pushing them.
It's a push, and it's not like push. They're like, go.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating to me. It was fascinating.
They're speaking at a level that the dog is at that present time.
I mean, obviously it evolves. It definitely evolves. And then the whole process of long distance handling is also fascinating. Any videos you can see of dogs like a couple, 300-400 yards out taking handling cues on a whistle is amazing. It's amazing control. And I love beautiful control. With the thing that gets me the most, when I started at Starmark, I really believed that I was going to change rescue dogs into service animals for veterans, because that was my story, and it's a good story. But the more, of course, I learned, the more I thought that A, is maybe not the most feasible way to do that particular thing, but B, I don't really want to do that. What really lights my fire is gorgeous obedience in drive. Like a huge amount of impulse control with a huge amount of precision. And gun dog training.
Leaning towards the gun dog realm. Yeah, leaning.
Well, when I left Starmark, I wanted to go one of two ways. I either wanted to go to Tar Heel, because I've seen that kind of beauty on
Tar Heels in North Carolina.
I've seen that kind of beauty, on the sport field.
And that's PSA too. They do PSA.
Mm-hmm. And one of my instructors from Starmark has a dog he's doing PSA with. He runs a PSA club here. So I love that. And then the other option was gun dog. And I was like, well, this one's closer. I don't have to leave my husband for a while to go do that. I can just go. But that same control and that same precision and obedience is just beautiful. It's beautiful. In drive. It's gorgeous. I love it.
I mean, it shows what dogs are capable of, and the precision too, And the other person,
the working relationship that results from that kind of stuff.
That's where I really think that there's pearls of wisdom that the pet dog can borrow from the working dog world. And that's where I interview Dave Croyer, I interview Larry Crone, I interview a bunch of people in the working dog world, because they have the pearls that will bring a relationship of a pet dog to the potential that I don't think that people know that it's capable of right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like it's almost telecommunication.
Telepathic.
There we go. And it's a wonderful thing, man. When you have that relationship with an animal. I mean, I feel like I have it with my girl right here, who's always with me. Right here, she's got her new chameleon collar on, but she's always just chilling. And then down below, I don't know if you can see Ash on the floor, but he's right down below me on the floor too. And I don't know, it's just a magical thing, and that's what, as a professional, I feel fortunate that I can work with these dogs that I am so passionate about every single day, and I've been doing it for quite a while now. And it's great to hear somebody that's only been doing it a few years really, really start to get, the same things that I find so beautiful about the sport and about the relationship.
And again, I really think if you can swing it, you go to a school like that will dip your toes into all this stuff, and then you can kind of see what's out there, and you'll know what makes you go, oh, that's amazing. Because a lot of my classmates are out actually working with CCI or other organizations training service dogs.
Yep.
Another classmate of mine, and another classmate of mine, thank you for translating. And another classmate of mine has a gun dog and a search and rescue dog that she's been working with for years at this point. No, she's not a classmate, but I knew her while I was working there. I was a trainer, and she was in a class. And she's coming to Sammy's coming to conference this year as well.
Can you lift up your phone just a little bit? There we go.
Okay.
Your forehead.
And so, yeah, I think they just give you options, basically. I mean, they focus on obedience and pet, like client interaction and pet dog training, behavior modification. If I had to criticize it a little, maybe I would now say that I have moved away from the way they taught us to do behavior modification.
Glenn says, good morning, y'all. He's down under.
Good morning, Glenn.
Yeah, it's like, it's 5 o'clock here, and what time is it here, 7?
7:17.
7:17. Good morning, Glenn.
But I'd say that of all the things that I've been taught there, the only place I've moved away from what I was initially taught was in behavior modification. But everything else is just a great way to start.
Yeah, I mean, there's as you move through it, you learn more. And I seriously, if I could do it over again, I would go to a school. If I could do it over again, I would learn Keeler first.
I would too. I want to do all of that. I still want to learn Keeler. I want to have a Keeler dog just to have a Keeler dog. I might go get myself once things slow down for the summer, I might go get myself a foster dog just to do that with.
Yeah, I definitely recommend. Well, you have to do it to do the Keeler, the KMODT with Tony, to do his little program that he does online.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you were to take the books, the Keeler books, and read them,
have done. It's good stuff.
I mean, but a lot of people just get crazy.
I like his snarky, sarcastic style of writing. His tone is great.
That's it. That's it. It's kind of snarky, That's like
it's entertaining. It is.
Run out of tidbits. That's what he says.
He's like, I wrote this because I got frustrated, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Johnny. Johnny says, hey, Billy. Hey, Adrienne. And Mark is, Tammy says, Tammy and I are watching, and it's 10 a.m. Down where Glenn is.
Oh, that's a nice time of morning. It's 10 a.m. on a Sunday? That's a good time. Aren't you supposed to be riding your bike?
It's Monday, isn't it, down there? No, it's Sunday. It's the next day. Right? Yeah, whatever.
I thought it's Tomorrowland, not day after Tomorrowland.
Well, remember that time I'm like, happy Sunday, Adrienne, and you're like, dude, it's Saturday. But yeah, I think the snarky behavior is taken by a lot of people. I mean, automatically, people are going to be a little bit salacious because, people just love dogs, man. They just love them. And I get it. I love them too. But in the emotional arena, sometimes there's a void of logic. And I picked up on what you said earlier before when you took your dog to the positive only class. And I was like, what was that like? And you said, oh, it was fun. We did a lot of stuff that my dog liked and what we liked, and it was a lot of just fun stuff. But when we're working with dogs, sometimes there's standards that need to be held, or there's boundaries that need to be in place, and those need to be communicated, and sometimes that's not fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, we got really lucky doing everything wrong and it turning out well, because that potato dog, it was just the most chill dog, and we never taught him to loose leash walk. He just did that, and
Larry
sat down.
Larry Crohn's here.
Hey, Larry! And if Alex sat down at a desk in a classroom, he laid down next to him. And, so to us, he was trained, when really that was his temperament. And so,
I call them dogs.
Yeah, and so we were like, yeah, we trained this dog. It's awesome. We know, this is good. And then I learned better. And now he's actually one of the more difficult of my dogs to train, because he's a basset hound, wants to do what he wants to do. I love working with him.
Anything with hound in the name, anything with bull in the name, I tell people, patience. Just take a nice glass of wine, like Adrienne has right there.
Well, I have a good mix now. It's really fun to watch the differences, because I've got Wallace, who is more basset hound than blackmouth cur in temperament. Then I've got Tucker, who's more lab, probably. He's a lab rot mix. Is my guess, looks like it. And then I've got this ugly, hyena thing. He's so ugly, but he has a cute face.
That's going to be your back pocket dog.
But I told you about him yesterday. He is straight up. He's got a cattle dog. Like,
remember, you put the phone up, and then he just went boom right up at the phone. It made me laugh. Oh, Sam put up.
He'll chase a dog and go like he's very herdy. So that'll be fun. He's very explosive. I want to NePoPo him because he's perfect and unblemished at the moment. And if I can learn it, I think it'd be cool to learn it with him because he's already explosive. So if I just don't mess it up, maybe.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning the finer details of NePoPo. And Larry, we were talking about you earlier, Larry Crone, about activating the dog.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that Adrienne said that was kind of a new thing that she learned between, and there was no intermediate. There was avoidance.
There's no intermittent phase the way I was taught. Yeah. So Larry and I think Pat jumped on that particular. It was either Pat or Glenn jumped on that particular thread, and it was the first time I'd heard the terms intermittent phase and activation, and it blew my mind.
I think it's really cool that what we're seeing dogs do, and not only that, but I think that it's really cool that we're coming together as a community and chatting and showing, and the technology that's available to us, where Larry has so many videos on YouTube. Pat and Glenn have the wonderful podcast, the Canine Paradigm.
Yeah.
We're doing the live stream right now where we're just chatting dogs, and we have people from all over the world watching us. In fact, if you're watching, hit the share button so we can get this put out, but also mention in the comments down below where in the world you're watching. It's really fun to see where people are and where the message reaches. And a lot of people that are watching this aren't dog professionals, but they are thinking about it. And a lot of the people that I have interviewed became a dog professional because of it was kind of necessary. They had a different dog. They went to a lot of these positive-only trainers, a lot of trainers that didn't offer aversives at all, and they realized that it wasn't helping their situation, and they went and learned how to train dogs from a lot of the great information, the solid, truthful information that's out there that doesn't necessarily feel good to hear, but it works, and that's what the important thing is. But you didn't have that situation. You made a conscious effort to become a dog professional. I think it's cool to see different. Adrienne is an excellent trainer. Sorry, I got different perspectives or different modes of getting into this industry. Okay. Adrienne is an excellent trainer. Mr. Crone said.
Larry.
Yeah, we have agreement. We have become a magnificent sharing community. And I was on his podcast, the Canine Paradigm, Glenn and Pat's podcast, and that's what I mentioned about, merging the pet world with the working dog world, and how much we can learn from each other. And Larry says that you have natural talent.
Larry.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet you, Larry, in Colorado.
Thank you. That means a lot. And I think, I've been really on fire about the IECP, and I think that whole idea of community, and really when I started listening to the Canine Paradigm, it's like you find your tribe. There's a lot of dog trainers in Austin, and we don't hang out that much. We have our own thing going on, and we're busy, and in some ways, being a dog trainer is extremely isolating because you hang out with non-dog trainers. It's like you're an alien. I work really hard to still stay.
My dog pees all over when people enter the house. What do I do? Or my dog.
Either that, or if you go into a social situation, like if I go with my husband to a work function, and maybe nobody really knows I'm a dog trainer, and they're like, "So what happened with you today?" And my first instinct is say, well, the dog that I've had for the last 2 weeks that just can't have a solid poop finally had a solid poop. That's not something they want to know. So I have to go, I'm reading a really cool book. Which one am I reading that's not about dogs? All right, let's talk about that. I do try to stay somewhat socially relevant outside of the dog training realm, but when you're passionate about something and it's easy to get obsessed, it kind of makes it even more isolating because if you have extra time, you're not really, I don't know. My husband watches Rick and Morty,
I love Rick and Morty, dude. I'm your husband. Stop.
Oh, I don't know what it is about that cartoon, but oh my gosh, I can't stand it. But and while he's sitting there watching that, I'm reading something or watching a video or
watching. Give in, Adrienne. Give in. You're gonna love it, and you can tell me.
But I would rather be doing something in the dog world. Something. I'd rather be putting information into my brain or practice critical thinking when I see something I don't like and I have to figure out why I don't like it and then verbalize it to myself. That is what I'd rather be doing on my downtime.
Well, I mean, the Rick and Morty is straight ridiculousness, and so the balance of like if you need the widget, like I need to learn whatever, and it's a good way to kind of check out. And I
prefer Family Guy and Bob's Burgers.
I like
your net worth is your network.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Your net worth is your net worth, or I say your net worth is your net worth. That's the same thing. I mean, and that's very important who we surround ourselves with and who we choose to surround ourselves with and who we choose to learn from, and that's it. And what I tell people is I'm not the expert on the purveyor of information. These dogs are our experts. These dogs are going to tell you if I'm full of crap or not. Let's get to work. And that's what was happening when I started out. I started positive only, and I was seeing that the commands weren't holding weight in different scenarios and different situations. Competing motivators. The dog wanted to check this out over here, and he's had this treat 100 times, and he's heard this click 100 times. It's boring him, I guess. I don't know. He wanted this way more than what I could offer, and I needed to figure it out.
Yeah.
And
I think there's a lot to be said for that route too. I think I'm going through a lot of frustration, and I'm having to sift through a lot more, and really have to wrestle with it because I was taught and kind of handed. I worked for it, but I was handed a lot of information in a very short amount of time, and I practiced it for about 15 months before I left Starmark. And now trying to, maybe I need to adjust this. It's hard, but when you start out that way and you're starting out experimentally and you're learning and you're practicing and it's more gradual and it's more organic, I think there's a lot to be said for that as well. It might take longer, but ultimately it looks like to me the understanding is deeper and your mechanics and your strengths are stronger. But really, I mean, that's what it seems like to me, that the people who do this organically. I want to bring up Kala Delahaye. She's in Wales. Kala, she's in Wales.
Okay.
Freaking love her. That woman is phenomenal, and she is doing it by herself. She started out in the purely positive doctrine, and she's out there doing all sorts of crazy stuff. If you don't follow her, follow her. Kala, D-E-L-A. Oh my gosh, it's some Welsh name, Delahaye.
Comments down below. I would love to.
Yeah, I could do that.
Denise says, this is great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Denise.
But do I train exactly like her? No. Does she train like me? No.
No.
Do we swap ideas? Absolutely. Do I respect the way she approaches everything? Hell yeah. That girl is on it. And nobody knows who she is. So in a way, for me, that's nice because it's relatable, right? Like, she's kind of newish, I think. I don't know how long she's been doing this, really. I'm kind of newish. And I'm watching all these pros and all these masters that are putting out content with a capital C, and she's just putting out the stuff she does on a daily basis.
This is a content with a capital C, too, because it appeals.
But that's not how she looks at it. She's not saying, I need to put out content. Or
it's just packaged differently.
Or maybe, and I think Larry's is more off the cuff too. But at the same time, because it's Larry Crone, trademark, right? It is seen more as content with a capital C. Kala's is just
Larry Crone is content with a capital K because of the Crone. No.
But hers is just so organic and so natural and so unassuming and wonderful, and the stuff that she does and what she gets done with dogs with tools that I don't use, or she doesn't use tools that I would use, is phenomenal, and I love that. So building connections and building a community. I don't care if you don't want to use a prong.
Yeah.
I do care about learning how to use a flat leash the way you do.
Well, and I believe, we have a pretty significant indicator that we're doing shit wrong, and that's the amount of dogs that are being killed.
I think it's easier than that. I think, yes, you're right. I don't remember the exact percentage. I'm sure every other balance trainer on the planet, or whatever label you want to use, since that's
I'm an individual. That's what I tell people. I don't like individual or labels too much.
I feel like it's something you sometimes need to put on your website, but when it comes down to it, you are this dog's trainer today, and the next hour you are that dog's trainer.
Yeah, every dog is an individual, and that's
and that's hard to define. But my point, you derailed me. I'm gone now. Goodbye, thought.
I'm sorry. I'll bring it. It'll come back. Just sit there with it. I got my girls, Larry, they're talking about you. Okay. I always talk about Larry. We must have somebody just walk in because my little girl back here is getting all huffy puffy.
Oh, I see.
That's what she does. She goes, and then there's the other dude. Come here. Whatever. They're being dorks. What were you thinking about? Tools? So the tools and things that she was...
I'm so ADD. It's completely
that's why we're good dog trainers, man. Everybody's
Let's
like,
move along.
Yeah,
well, I do have something in common with dogs. I'm terrible I have to work very, very hard to budget, to plan ahead. I'm extremely impulsive. That's an ADD trait, and a left brain, I'm
like that too. I'm sorry,
a right brain trait, and I'm extremely in the moment. So it's easy for me to forget to plan for the future because it's only right now. And it's gone. But no,
drink faster. That's what Larry says. That helps with the memory, the keeping everything.
It definitely helps. Yeah, it definitely helps with brain function.
Well, I think that, as a dog training community, we all have something to learn from each other, and we all have something to teach each other as well. That the key is that to be open to that, and that's where these events like the IACP conference and just being able to be in these Facebook groups, and not only that, but to network with your local trainers as well. You can solve some. You can have some pretty ingenious or genius ideas, man. And not only that, but I've seen with some of these people, with some of these people with just natural talent, I'm like, oh my gosh, what does this guy do? And he's like, oh, I'm a computer programmer. I'm like, dude, there's a place
here
for
in Austin who's not a trainer yet. He is, but he doesn't think he is. He just posted something on the GRC. I feel like it was on the GRC page, using a long line and a pet trainer.
Oh yeah.
Clayton Matthews. He's here in Austin. Taught pressure release.
The pressure release
for a dog who has resource guarding. Genius.
Yeah, I loved it.
It was
I commented
amazing.
on it too. Yeah, I watched it like 5 times.
I know. It's like I never in a million years would I have ever thought of doing that. Never.
Yeah, I remember when I watched. Who was it? Daddy, George Carlin, George Cochran. Yeah, that's who I saw use the treat trainer, and I'm like, what the heck is that thing, man? What is And he messaged me back. He's like, this is a treat trainer. This is what I use to teach the marking. Or he was doing a retrieve with the treat trainer. But incrementally, just touch this, beep, touch it, beep. Now you got to open your mouth, beep. Now you got to touch it with your teeth, beep. Now I'm going to set it down.
So a motivational hold, a motivational retrieve. He used the treat trainer.
Yeah, it was smart. Amazing. And it was just, and not only that, but it's like, dude, I'm just hanging out watching TV with a little barbell, and the treat trainer's full over there. She needs to eat. So I could just sit here and watch TV. I just keep her in my peripheral. And it's amazing what people can do. In fact, I would need to go dust out my treat trainer. What's that?
said Game of Thrones is over. What even is TV?
I've never seen one episode of Game of Thrones. I've never seen one second
special?
of one episode.
You can't say I haven't seen an episode of Game of Thrones and not do a hair flip.
Hold on, beard flip. There. Oh, wait, let me flip the right. There. You know that was a thing because, but yeah.
I love that show. I think I really love that. I think I'm in the middle of Sapolsky's Behave, right? So I'm overanalyzing every single effing thing that happens or has ever happened at the moment. But right now, honestly, Game of Thrones, I started watching it when I was in Afghanistan, and it was like the one thing that I had that was entertainment value. Like the one thing of entertainment value that I had. And I do think that I am overly attached and overly passionate about that show, probably because of that. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, the nerves that fire together wire together, and so maybe in a heightened, intense emotional state, if you watch that, then it would make sense that you are so passionate about it because...
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, though, because I hate the color beige.
I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Oh, the sand was beige. Our uniforms were beige.
Oh, beige.
Beige.
Yeah.
Gray,
it's
white,
neutral.
sand,
neutral color. My Camry's beige, just so you know.
I don't want to ever see it. In fact, it's going to be fun to go back to Colorado Springs because when we got back from Afghanistan, we were stationed in Germany. Oh, nice. I like lamp. We were stationed in Germany, and then they were like, all right, you're going back to the States. And we're like, awesome, that'll be nice. So they sent us back to the States, and they sent us to Colorado Springs, and I'm not kidding you. We drive into that town, and there are dust devils everywhere. There's the mountains. It's a high desert, and I was like, this is Fob Sharana. Can we go? Can we turn around? I don't want to be here. Like, I hate it. It was exactly the same. I think my husband too was just like, oh my gosh. And I mean, that's where Special Forces guys go to train to go
it's high. That's where the Olympics. They train the Olympic athletes there. That's where the Air Force Academy is.
I mean, that kind of.
And that's where we're having a conference this year. And guess what, man? Whoever's watching this, if you're going to a conference, drink plenty of water and watch your alcohol consumption because I tell you what, when you're up,
oh yeah, and just because weed is legal in Colorado,
don't mess with edibles. Don't mess with edibles.
Don't think that this is the first time you should try it.
Yeah. And if you do, and if you need a hug, then come grab me or Adrienne, and we'll give you a hug and tell you that things are gonna be okay.
Go hug Bill.
Adrienne would be like, get out of here. What are you doing? I'm learning, kid.
Yeah.
And I got my wife.
But no, but for real though, if anybody, I'm staying a few days before and a few days after. I'm gonna go all the old haunts, all the best camping places, Garden of the Gods, Pikes Peak. But you got to take the train. Don't drive up there; you'll die. I'll never do that again. It will always be the train forever.
Well, I've seen the Garden of the Gods. I've seen red hot disc brakes because of how steep.
They actually give you a lollipop at the end. That's not Garden of the Gods. That's coming off of Pikes Peak.
Yeah, Pikes Peak. Yeah.
And if they have a temperature gauge, and if you come down Pikes Peak, and they have a couple checkpoints, and they have they put that thermometer up against your brakes. If it's under a certain temperature, they give you candy.
No way.
I'm not joking.
Howdy, y'all. Justin Crawford has joined us. Hey, Justin.
Hey, Justin.
Welcome.
But no, I'm gonna do all of that stuff. Anybody is willing or anybody who would like to join me. Seriously, second glass of wine. Anyone who would like to join me is more than welcome. I'm going to also walk up the Stairway to Hell. It's in Manitou Springs. It's only a mile, but it will be the worst mile of your entire life. And once you get to the top, if you're just wear the right shoes. And then once you get to the top, it will be the most, talk about endorphins. It will be the most rewarding thing you've ever done. And guess what? It's dog friendly. You can bring your dogs up that thing.
Man, I just been thinking about walking a mile up at 7,000 feet, and that's where it's at, 7,000 feet.
It's a mile up, and approximately, I want to say only 800. I want to say something as little as 800 or 1,000 feet forward.
Whatever. That's the worst 1,000 feet ever.
It's like
I might do it. I might do it. You know, we should do it all together.
Well, I was
And then
stationed there.
Manitou
We used
has
to go
like
every
sparkly
Saturday.
water, right? It has like fizzy water. So good. And then there's Old Town, Colorado, or
And
something
then there's
down
all
there.
the little micro brews, and then the really good wine. And now and I was stationed there when marijuana became legal, which of course I was stationed there, so that wasn't happening for us. But people went insane, and I don't know if they still exist, but there were like wine and weed pairing bars, and they pour the smoke on top of the wine and give it to you with a lid, and then you drink the smoke and then the wine or something. And they tried to make it all fancy, and I was like, wow. It's a cool place. Look, it's a cool place. There's good food. The dog culture is really varied because it's a dichotomized town.
Mark said that he's going to hit
Manitou
on Thursday after the conference. He's saying after the conference.
Sweet, let's do that thing. If you've never done it before and you're not used to the altitude, give yourself at least 2 hours to get up there, but it's only going to take you 30 minutes to get down.
Yeah.
Well, wear good shoes because the run down, you don't go down the same way you come up. You run down this awesome path and it feels like you're flying. It's amazing. That's the best part. I'm not joking. You work for an hour to get up that thing, and then you sit and die for a minute, and you're like, okay, let's go. And you run down that mountain. It's so fun. It's so fun.
Very cool. Hey, hold on one second. I wanted to grab something that I wanted to suggest for you. Hold on. Hey, Don, can you grab me the gut flora stuff for the dog?
Dun, 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 dun,
so I found this stuff.
Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm back. Did anything happen while I was gone?
No.
Morning after the gala. That's when he's going. So there's this stuff. It's called...
Morning after the gala. Are you insane? People are going to be drinking too much, and they're going to be dehydrated, and then you want them... And you still have to get up early.
They're going to be eating a ton, too. They're going to be eating a ton, too.
You're still going to have to get up early because it gets really warm, and then you want them to hike up a mountain. I'm down for it, Mark, because I'm not going to be drinking that much, but I think it could be a really funny group going up that mountain.
To this. So you guys, I've seen this help out so many digestive issues with dogs that I get rescue or
hey, Bill, my ear thingy is dying.
Well, you can pull it out. It's fine.
I might. Tell me when you can't hear me, and then I will.
Okay. So this is it. I had my dog was having a rough time, and we were almost taking her to the emergency vet, and we gave her some of this stuff, and it really, really firmed up that poop. And it was amazing, and she turned around immediately. And so definitely LMF Digest 911. Let me see if I can find a link to this, because I heard
I've had really good success in the past with Flora, and now there's I don't want to say it's made by Answers. I want to say it's made by a very similar company, a powder that's pre and probiotics with a couple other things in it, and that actually worked really well as well. Flora is made by Purina. Say what you want.
This thing's about $40. $40 for this bag.
Say what you want about. Hey, here's the other thing too. I'm not a nutritionist. I can't wait for Norel's book. So Glenn, tell Norel. But at the Gun Dog Kennel, some of the best athletes on that field were on Purina Pro Plan for athletes.
Yeah, you better believe it. I mean, and that's it. These companies are successful.
I mean, those things were monsters.
Yeah, I mean they got it down to a science, and some people poo them all day long, and that's not what I'm about.
I don't want to feed it to my dogs, really. I don't know, but
well, I'm very thankful for
those Labradors were insane.
I'm thankful for all these companies that have donated to rescues that feed those dogs, because who else is going to feed them? And it's good food. I mean, before this, there was a big malnourishment problem. I was talking to Michael Arms, who used to be the head of the ASPCA, who now runs Helen Woodward Animal Center, and he's a wonderful guy who's get a room.
We have a whole house. Unfortunately, we have two houses. Does anyone out there want to buy a house in Austin? Because we would really love to sell it to you. It's gorgeous.
Austin house is coming at you. So he says she's working on it now as we speak. I made her anxious when I posted about it on TCP discussion page.
You can't
Don't
post
be
that
anxious.
stuff without. Oh.
Yeah, don't be anxious. It's needed.
No, hey, tell her though. Masterpieces take time. You can't hear me, can you?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they're.
Just a second. Can you hear me now?
Yep. I think you sound better.
It died. Masterpieces take time. All of us are willing to wait for her Mona Lisa.
Yes. Yes. Except for me.
But
Tell her to hurry.
If we only have to wait 2 weeks instead of 2 years, that would be fine as well.
That'd be great. If we could get it sooner, better than later.
Like if she just magically
popped it out, and if she came on the Bow Wow Bill live stream to announce it. But yeah, I think that nutrition is needed. Good, solid advice. I have Wendy Vollard's book. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff out there, and that's what's beauty of this is that people love dogs. People are passionate about them, and they get into these different.
I want to just add in there though, really quick.
You're super quiet. Are you covering up the mic again? I
want to add in there really quick.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
A little bit. I don't know if you're covering up the mic.
Double chin angle. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I am super passionate about dogs. I'm also extremely passionate about the clients. I think that it would be a huge service to the dog industry to spend more time not only focusing on dog psychology and science, behavioral science, focusing on dogs and the talent code as it pertains to how do I teach a dog better and how do I be a better trainer. How about how to communicate better, how to connect better, those are the people, we are changing people's lives, or we ought to be.
Yeah. I mean, and people are paying us because they're, one, experiencing a problem, two, looking for an answer. And sometimes solutions that we provide them might not be at first blush met with open arms, because they love this dog and they do.
Learn how to relate to people. It might take time to build the trust to create the world's best client.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite clients was a guy that was super gruff, and you just get to know them, but you help them, and that's what we're doing. One of my favorite clients, and they're not really on Facebook. Oof. It's okay. One of my favorite clients who might see this, when I met them, they were, they bickered a lot. There was a lot of abrasiveness and tension. They thought their dog was stupid. Their dog was not stupid. He's a 13-inch beagle who knows more tricks to date than all of my dogs combined, and then some. His heel work is better than any dog I've ever trained. I just showed her how to do it, and she did it. And that dog is beautiful. And there was a couple times I was trailed by a trainer who was coming into a job. She was trailing me for the day or the week, and it was time to have a lesson with this client, and she walked out because they were that difficult. Sometimes you invest in people, and you can't just have like strict rules about that too. Well, you got to know that life happens, man.
Life happens. You don't say, if they won't use a prong, then I won't work with them. No, maybe in 6 months they would use a prong. Maybe in 2 weeks they'd use a prong.
I had a client that would not use e-collar until we exhausted every single thing that she would use.
It's our job. It is our job to earn the trust of our clients. It's our job to educate our clients. So I love beagles. If it takes time, I have so many cool videos of that beagle. But I love beagles. I don't know why. I just love beagles, man. I love the way me of posting him online, and it kills me because he's so gorgeous. The heel work is gorgeous. I mean, precise. But it's our job. That's our job. It's our job, not to this is right, and if you can't handle it, then leave. It's our job to say, like, build a relationship, build trust. It's about trust. If I am trustworthy to you and you believe in me and I tell you this is what I want to do, if they really trust you, they'll say, okay. Yeah. All right. I feel like this about it, but we trust you. So there you go. And then they go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And sometimes it's the weeding out process with clients for me is not, will they capitulate to my demands on the first day? It's not, a personality thing.
It's whether or not it's really more of a measure of commitment and whether they're willing to start building a relationship.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, and that's where, people kind of get stuck. And it's not just methodologies of communicating with the dogs that we're focusing on here. We're focusing on communicating with the people that
And it's
own
also
these
why
dogs.
I don't have programs. I have programs that are on my website because that's what's expected, but in reality, it doesn't play out that way. I
Yeah,
don't have programs. The training is 100% tailored made to the individual client and the individual dog. And sometimes the dog can handle a lot more than the client is willing to handle for her dog right now. Right. So, my job
that's
is,
right.
and it's
What an
not,
amazing
and it,
comment from an amazing person. Hey, Linda, love ya. Great to see you here. And that right there is the delineation between a pro and a pretender. We serve people and we find a way to help them. That's right. We
exactly. And
exhaust
if it takes
everything
time,
that they're
and
comfortable with.
it's really not about, I get in trouble all the time for
There's
talking
there's no
free.
there's no substitution for that. That's
There's
the
no,
thing, that
and that's the thing
there's
is
no
like,
substitution for
because
time.
I want to help people so much, and I love my business partner because in many ways she's she's the opposite of me, personality wise. So she holds me accountable where she's like, Adrienne, we are running a business. Therefore, stop giving away 6 private lessons for free. Thanks. Like,
Yeah.
right. So it's hard for me because I want to earn that trust. I want to help that
Hey,
client. I
Linda.
want to open their eyes. I want to see them freaking love working with their dog. I want to see that dog thrive. I want to
That's
win.
right.
I want to win with them.
Well, and this is a great point. Look at what Tosh says. Tosh says, besides the dogs, no one really knows what other stressors people are going through until your relationship starts to form, because that's rapport, and you need to build
And
rapport
then,
with these people.
welcome dog trainer / marriage counselor / family counselor / can you just babysit my 3-year-olds for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
My twin 3-year-olds. And that's not, I didn't make that up. That just happened.
One time I had a client, I walked up to her and her window beside her door was smashed out. And I said, what the heck is going on here? And she was like, somebody vandalized my house last night. And I could just tell that she was freaked out. So what I chose to do was I canceled all my appointments and I sat and kicked it with her and read my book on her front couch while I was petting her dog and loving her up. And then, while they were replacing her window. And just because I knew that that's what she kind of needed, and her husband was out of town at the time, and
I mean, think
and
about, here's this.
I wasn't planning on doing that, and
I'm not putting a blanket statement out there because there are no blanket statements when it comes to psychology and human behavior.
you're
But
still quiet a little bit, just so you know.
I'm not putting a blanket statement out there because there are no blanket statements when it comes to psychology and human behavior. However,
Except,
I think that a huge majority of dog trainers forget that training someone's dog is an extremely intimate invitation into that person's home. If they choose to trust you with their dog, it's almost an avalanche where it follows that. Now can you babysit my twin 3-year-olds for 5 minutes? Now can you, like they trust you with some insane things.
can you come to my master bedroom and see where my dog sleeps? I've walked into people's their house and right into their master bedroom, and I'm like, wow, man, this is, I mean, what an honor it is for people to trust me, to be able to let me into their inner sanctum and their inner sanctuary. And, it's something to figure out, whatever you just did, you sound great.
I just cupped my hands around the bottom of the phone.
There you go. Do that.
That's because physics. But that trust factor, it extends so much further beyond whether or not the client will allow you to use a tool. It is a relationship. It's something that you should nurture diligently. It's something that you should really strategically look at and build upon and earn.
That's right.
And when you can do that, I make a joke about this, but it's also something I'm working hard on. I have a very, very horribly low agreeableness score on Jordan's personality test. However, with clients, and that's just when I'm myself, I'm extremely challenging. I like to fight you. I want to fight you, and if you win, then I'll agree with you. Basically, is kind of how it, like, that's how it sort of boils down, and that's sort of how I got to know Larry. I with no malice in my heart, but with there's a lot of intensity there. But with clients, it's not that way. But when you gain their trust, then you can kind of bring in some of that blunt, straightforward action and conversation. I've had private lessons that were charged as a private lesson, where the goal of my private lesson was, we're not working your dog. We're sitting down and we're having a talk.
Yeah.
About what you want and what you're willing to do to get there.
I'm in a few wills to take dog owners. What blows my mind if I don't take for granted. Oh, what is?
I'm godmother to a couple dogs.
Yeah, I am too.
If they
I am too. Isn't that crazy?
I would be in a really bad position.
I'm honored. I'm honored. That's my god dog. That's what I call him. I'm like, that's my god dog. Aspen's my god dog. Like that, and they called me up. They're like, I'm in the wheel. They're like, that's so crazy. I'm in a few wheels to take the dog if the owners die. No bullshit. That blows my mind. Yeah.
In the military, you have
ultimate privilege. I agree.
You have to put up with my morbidity. Okay. Having been in the military, but yeah, if all of those people died tomorrow, I would have a problem. Like, oh,
hopefully they leave a little a little stipend with the dog when it comes.
501c3 and crowdsource for some of this. Would you open that?
Yeah, I actually took a dog that with Margaret, one of my clients. She fell and broke her arm, and she requested, it was one of her dying wishes, that I take her dog on my little land here, and I couldn't say no, man. And I have actually a dog I just took. One of my friends was murdered last year on 4th of July, and she was murdered by her boyfriend that she was leaving at the time. He killed her and then killed himself in a murder-suicide, and the dog was there. And I mean, it's kind of morbid, I know, but it's also it's what happens, and it's my honor that the dog is now living with me on my ranch here, and we got him back into shape, and now he's running around, and I feel her presence with him, and what an honor, and what a unique position we find ourselves in. Glenn says, we got a bunch of comments here. Glenn says Chick-fil-A did an ad where they represented how people feel in the moment. We are often read people wrong. That's right. Including our own clients, as we are trying to think about what they are thinking about us when it's really our mission to teach them what to think to solve one of their problems, and that's what we're getting paid for.
Yeah, if we're too focused on how they're feeling about us, then I feel like that's yes, absolutely, that's going to derail everything. Hey, I'll admit this to you right now. I'm much better with people, not in an interpersonal, like getting me not as a client necessarily. Obviously, my agreeableness score. I'm competing with myself now. I'm gonna take it again in a year, and I'm gonna beat myself. I want to be more agreeable, but I am much better with people. I started my first job was being paid under the table as a 14-year-old in Idaho. Extremely high Mormon misconception is that all the Mormons are in Utah.
We know that's not true.
Well, we know that actually Salt Lake City is 33%. The reason I'll tell you all why this is relevant here in a second. I have nothing against Mormons at all, but I'll tell you why this is relevant in a second. In Utah, it's I think around 33% LDS. In Pocatello, where I was born, 86%.
Idaho Falls has got to be up there too.
One large manifestation of that is that politically, you can't really get anywhere unless you belong to this ward or the other ward. And if you don't belong to any ward, well, and then beyond that, if you are female.
Your audio is oh wait, no, I turned up my level on my microphone. Yeah, perfectly. I was wondering. I was like, wow, it sounds really good. But I turned up my levels on my microphone. I forgot. So
hand cup things too. So, and if you're female, So I worked for a high-standing LDS business owner, starting at the age of 14, paid under the table, which is not very ethical or whatever you want to say, selling bicycles to professional bike racers and hobbyists and families when I had literally ridden one a couple times. I learned how to sell a long time ago, and I learned how to communicate with people a long time ago. Before I became a dog trainer, like shortly before I became a dog trainer, I worked in the office of Senator Cornyn, which made my dad so proud. He was like, my daughter works with the majority whip, and he's extremely conservative. I'm more of a libertarian, for the record.
Atta girl.
HOAs are the devil, and taxes are stupid. But I loved that game. It was a game. It's a game of reading people, and it's a game of manipulating people. And I got to watch all these people, and I am really pretty positive that in the high 90 percentile of people that are in Washington are either born or conditioned sociopaths.
Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm. And the temptation there is it's not really for the greater good; it's for yourself. So when you're approaching dog training and you're looking at a client and all you're wondering is how they feel about you,
that's sociopathic.
You're a politician.
A politician. Oh, that's right. You're like, hey, you're shaking hands and kissing babies. Are you
trying to help your constituent, or are you just trying to get your constituents' vote?
That's right. Boom.
I'm just saying.
Don't be a politician. Be a dog trainer.
I actually left that intentionally, saying I don't want to go back because I want to play that game so bad, and I don't like that. Being able to, there's a really fine line between ethical good communication and ethical influence over people, and straight up manipulation for your own. It's a skill, is basically what I'm saying. It is a skill. It is a skill that anyone can learn, anyone can practice. And when you
repetition is the mother of learning.
And you blend it with empathy and understanding and some patience, you can build, even if it takes a long freaking time. I mean, it took me 2 years with these people. I love, they are my favorite clients. They'll always be my favorite clients.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't with the dogs. The dog was fun and easy. It was the progression with the people.
Yeah. Well, Denise says, yes, they're really open to you. For me, it's lifelong. Most of the time, the relationships, absolutely. They go into lifelong relationship. Hey, Kevin Lee is here. Kevin Lee is a great trainer with he's got dogs.
I love Kevin. Hey,
yeah. We got those dogs zipping around.
When you come down to Texas, Nick, Kevin.
Yeah, and come up to Washington after, and then whatever. To come up to Washington first, not after that. But
it's rainy, and everyone knows there are vampires up there.
If you do a kind act for someone and advertise you're doing business, not kindness. That's right. I don't even like people. I mean, what I'll do is I will go and I like to, for homeless people, I like to give them, I try to put myself in their shoes, and I'm like, what would I like if I was them? And I would like to be warm, and I would like clean underwear, and I would like clean socks. There's nothing like clean socks. I've always felt like clean new socks, you know?
I don't wear socks.
Well, shut it, Adrienne. I'm talking about me right now. No, I'm just saying
I can't relate.
I got these. I should show you the socks that I'm rocking right now, man. They're nice, big, long, black ones. But here, okay. Get up here. Can you see them? Oh shoot! Can you see them?
I was expecting something more spangly, but all right, go ahead.
They're just black. I mean, whatever.
Next time, go spangly, just in case this happens.
Spangly? I don't know what that is.
You got to get yourself some colorful spangly socks.
Okay, I'll be on it. Do you know what we need to do is tell some dad jokes too, because that's what we were going to do. But anyway, what I was saying is that you don't advertise it. You just go out and help people, man. Just go out and do it. And
it's a balance. I'm saying I'm so grateful, so grateful for Tammy, my business partner. She's a great trainer. She's kind of like the silent partner. She's not on Facebook very much, but gosh, does that girl ground me when she's like, hey, this is a business. You know, I mean, really, like, you've got to find a balance between that passion of connecting with people and connecting with dogs.
Speaking of, what's the name of your business? How do people connect with you? Like, let me put it on the screen so we can
don't
advertise.
feel like that's super important.
Whatever, dude, that's a business. You have to tell people.
Okay, it is, but you can push me here. I'll allow you. But here's the thing: I've intentionally not invited a lot of trainers to my page because I wanted it to organically grow as a page that is populated by my clients. If that makes sense.
It does, but I want to know your page. If you do act,
my page is.
I'll just post it. I'm going to post up her page. Bombas. So Larry's saying Bombas, and every pair you buy, they donate a pair to the homeless, and they're the best socks I've ever used. Cool. I never heard of them. Yeah, I'll have, but what I'll do is I'll make these little care packages, and then you go to business Costco. We have a business Costco here, which is different from regular Costco because they sell to businesses, and they have like individual Neosporin, individual Benadryl, individual stomach antacids, individual ibuprofen, and I'll plug that all in there, and then I'll get some underwear and some socks and hand warmers. You know, get some hand warmers from Costco, but and you make these little care packages to hand out, and you can make male or female. But I see people doing that and then videotaping themselves handing it out, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Are you doing it to help people? Or are you doing it to gain? And that's where it's kind of like, why are you doing this? Are you doing it to help the
church we used to go to gave us that idea for a very, very long time.
Yeah, just go out and do it.
No, it's a good thing. Look, I don't care. Honestly, with that kind of stuff, and I agree with, I feel like it was Glenn who said this, right? If it's for business or whether it's for kindness. But either way, you're doing something for somebody. So even if, thank you, Glenn. Yeah, there it is. I see it. Even if you're doing it for your business, but you're doing an act of kindness, you're still doing an act of, it still is going to help somebody. So
yes.
If you feel like you have to,
ultimately it's going to help dogs.
That's what motivates you to do it. Then do it.
Yeah.
Because that's better than you not doing it. But I'll just out myself here too. Well, we're totally derailed from dogs at this point.
What are you going to out yourself?
Oh, yeah.
It's going to get juicy.
I'm a smoker.
Oh my God! You're going to smoke on the live stream.
No. But here's the thing. That was a precursor. If I don't have anything in my car, if I have something, most of the time, they'll take a cigarette or four. Even if they don't. Yeah.
Who will? Homeless people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If I drive up on a panhandler and I don't have anything in my car, then I'll offer them a few cigarettes because even if they don't smoke, they can use
currency. Or it's just, it can help out their fellow humans.
And this goes with clients, and this goes with dogs, and this goes with everything. You don't have to be limited to one specific way to do it. If you want to do it, and it's because everything that you do, whether it's with dog training or dealing with clients or trying to give to someone in need, it has more to do with the intent, and then your creativity can take over than it does with the method.
I love it. Yeah. And I often tell people it's an art and a science too, you know, and there's three variables that we're dealing with.
It happens to have science. That's how I feel.
Yeah. But the science is legit, you know, and the science is.
And I'm very, 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 very not scientifically brained. So as much as I'm fascinated by it, and I love Sapolsky, though sometimes I want to murder him.
Well, there's different types of approaches, though. I think that there's an acoustic chamber called a science lab, and we need to get away from that because these aren't rats or pigeons. You know, these are dogs that we bring with us into the world that's rich with external stimuli, you know.
And feelings and impressions and emotions and yes, there are results, but the way that those results are executed, the way that they're obtained, it would be hard to measure. It's hard to measure.
Yeah. Well, and to leave out the instinct variable too, you know, the predator mind, you know, all that stuff is a big influence of behavior.
Well, absolutely. I'm just thinking of like the industry in general. I mean, I think it's really hard to measure success.
Yeah, I mean, it's
easy.
esoteric, you know.
What I
people.
mean is, it's easy to recognize, but it's hard to measure. You can see, dang, that's good, but how do you measure that success with that client? How much success did you have with that client or with that dog? How refined and how elegant was your training? How good were your communication skills? It's so relevant.
Absolutely. And it's important too.
It's so relevant, but it's so relative as well.
Well, and what do they expect out of you too until you get into...
Sometimes our job is to change their expectations.
That's exactly what I was saying. If you start getting into it, then you're going to realize that you need to change these expectations because they think they've known it all. A lot of times I go up and it's just I just want to solve this one thing in my dog. And we have to unbox their whole freaking life almost. You know?
I just recently had a client I haven't heard from in a while. I check in every once in a while because that's what you do. But all they wanted was that she got in the car and would walk on a leash. And this dog was so scared. It was a little cattle dog. Looks a lot like yours. She'd fit into your pack really well. Lovely dog.
Yeah. And my dog's a little white. I mean, she gets a little freaked out too.
And we started with some really foundational stuff. The first week, came back the next week. We refused to put her in a crate. Refuse. And we refused to put up all of her toys. And I was like, okay, that's severely limiting. Because she continues to not need you. So that's when it really gets difficult. And it is a tango, but ultimately the responsibility is on us.
Yeah, and you can reiterate and say, hey, look, I think things would go quicker or whatever, but it's not our dog either. And that's the other thing. I had a client tell me that, a client that just spent $6,000, and literally I'm home with him and he's doing something that is going to erase a lot of this training. And I told him, I let him know, hey, look, this, I don't recommend doing that. And he's like, well, it's my dog. And I'm like, you're absolutely right.
That's where it gets hard. If you have, I think this is a measurable skill when it comes to results. Or again, measuring it is difficult, just like measuring dog skill. It's difficult to measure your elegance and your understanding but you can see the result. So your result with your client, then how many good results you have might be an indicator of the measure of your skill when it comes to communicating with clients. So if you can't take a client like that, an incalcitrant client that wants to just blackball something and do things their way, but still wants to hire you and is doing some work, I mean, obviously you're always going to there's going to be a brick wall, but they're not as common as a lot of people think.
Well, and he was laughing at himself too. That was the thing, I
haven't been doing this very long, thanks to, I don't know, do I want to say this? Thanks to Starmark's, yes, I do. Thanks to Starmark's focus more on quantity than quality. I've had my hands on over 400 dogs at this point, which is a lot in a very short amount of time. And most of it happened while I was at Starmark. I left Starmark in the low 300s. And in that time, and I'll have to go back through my Excel spreadsheet, but I want to say I've only had to cut ties with 2 clients that I can remember right off the top of my head. Excuse me. There's Tucker. But my point is, if you just set up your own criteria where you're like, and we're done. If you cross this line, we're done. If you don't agree to this, we're done. You cut yourself short for so many things.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well, I mean, it depends on, what that criteria is and how far that threshold is that you're willing to accept, defiance or whatever from.
We're like, no prongs. And then 3 months later, all right, let's try it.
Yeah.
Like I literally said, do you trust me? Can I try this? And I'll show you.
Yeah. Let me show you.
Yeah. And they said
Yeah.
yes. Right? I didn't
Yeah.
hound them between those 2 times. I just waited and then said, okay, are we in a place? And then they said the same thing about the e-collar. Said, do you trust me? Can I have him for a week and I'll show you?
Yep.
You know,
Trust is paramount. Rapport is power. That's what I tell
trust
people.
is a product of relationship. And if you build
Absolutely.
that relationship and you have the patience and the wherewithal and the skill to communicate and build relationships with your clients, they will let you do whatever you want.
Because they trust you.
It's
What
a
do you think of?
mindset. There's a lot of ways to do it. There, I could share. I have about 3 different ways of how I go about getting to there.
Okay.
And I've actually made videos back in the day, and that I still stand by. Back in the day, that I posted about some of these things because I know people kind of like have this craving for a formula. Um,
They want.
but it's really, if you have the mindset for it, and if you are a dog trainer, you're automatically probably already some kind of artist. And if you're not, you probably shouldn't be training dogs. Just saying. And what? Or you could be a scientific brained person with a huge amount of empath.
Well, art. I mean, art means that it comes from the hand of man, right? And so art. There's article,
Is that all it means?
artificial,
Maybe.
articulate. You know, all these are
We can go down terms. I'm just trying to get a sense of what I mean.
But yeah, I know what you mean. But if you're not an artist, I mean, go out and paint a picture. I mean, it shows a creative expression, and that's exactly what this art and science is. Is that, you know, there's a science behind it, but there's also your unique ability to reach and to communicate what needs to be done to bring this relationship into
like I said, I've
harmony.
seen people who are not left-brained or right-brained at all, or I mean everybody is, but not on that scale. They're very scientifically brained,
Yeah.
but they're extremely empathetic, extremely, and they
Yes.
can still get there. They can get there because they seek to understand their client, and then
Yep.
they alter their presentation according to that empathy. And that's a different way to do it, but that I've seen them get those same results with those clients, those difficult clients, or those inconsistent clients, or even clients who seem perfect but they just don't have the drive, and you want to build some like passion in them, you know, like you have a phenomenal dog. Let me show you what you can do with this dog. Like, let's get you out there doing something you want to do.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, that's our job is not to train dogs. I'm sorry. This is how I look at this. I like to train dogs. If all I wanted to do was train dogs, I would own dogs and train them. That's not our job. Our job is to train, relate to, and coach people.
What do you say to a dog trainer that says that they train dogs because they hate people?
I say that they need to really reassess what they're doing.
Yeah, that's been a common question that I've asked everybody
They
on
have
this.
that deep an aversion to people, but they're that passionate about dogs. First of all, why are they training pet dogs? Maybe if it's that deep of an aversion, they need to go into some kind of sport.
Well, that's what the answers have been. It's like a kennel tech, you know, be a kennel tech or something that you don't deal with people, but you're not going to be running your own business because that's what we're dealing with. The dogs don't
Tech do deal with people. Starmark can board something like 350 dogs at a time, and the kennel techs deal with people. They answer phones. They take dogs out to their owners. The owners check over the dogs that are answering questions.
Yeah, basically, you're dealing with people, man. Like, you're in the wrong industry if you think that.
You don't want to train dogs, you don't want to deal with people. Have your own, compete on your own, and you can be a really good dog trainer that way. But if you have clients, that's not your job. You do it because you like it. You like to train dogs. I like training dogs. I love training people.
Uh-oh, your passion is pouring out.
That's something I never really have gotten a handle on, and it has gotten me in trouble in the past. But I mean, and that is something that if you don't feel like you have those skills with people, but you agree and you want to train pet dogs and you want to make a difference in the home, you can gain those skills.
Yeah. How to Win Friends and Influence People. You know, the Dale
I have
Carnegie
not
book.
read that book yet, but I really want to.
You read it. So my takeaways.
That politician side of me that goes, ooh, that could be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of politician quotes. A Woodrow Wilson quote in there about coming. I mean, basically, my biggest takeaways are, number one, nothing is more sweet sounding to somebody than their own name. And so learn people's names and use their names when you're addressing them. That brings in a type of cordial familiarity, you know.
Although, honestly, in our profession, nothing is as sweet sounding to a pet owner's name than their pet's name.
Right, then their dog, you know, take into consideration. Dude. Well, dude, I know people's dogs. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Howie and
you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And imagine how much better that interaction would go if you actually knew them and asked, hey, you said that you got sideswiped last week. So how'd that go? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And you remember those details.
Be genuine. Be authentic. You know, that's it. Love what you do. If you want to be impressive to people, then be impressed by them. Okay, find out something.
There you go. Sorry.
No worries. I was saying, if you want to be impressive to people, be impressed by them. Find out about them. Find out what impresses you by them. You know, and you know, that's part of the process. You know.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's such an intricate. I'm so in love with this industry. I'm so in love with this job.
Well, that's why I'm glad that you came on, and we've been talking for a while, so I think we're going to sign off here. But I mean, I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate what you have to say, and I agree. You can definitely tell that you're passionate, and it doesn't matter. I want people to know, look, Adrienne's brand new in the industry and already making waves. So if you feel an intuitive nudge,
tell me where I did that, and I'll go back and do something.
Right here, right now. That's where you're doing it. No, but it's something that pay attention. You know, pay attention to intuitive nudges. Pay attention to, you know, things that maybe you don't know what you don't know. And like, she didn't know that the GI Bill could pay for this, and she wanted to just try it out. So she dipped in her.
The e-collar could be used for activation.
Or the e-collar could be used for activation. You know, what do I didn't know?
I learned something new today.
What did you learn today?
This is a vet thing. If a dog's eardrum bursts.
Yeah, that's right.
It hits a huge facial nerve that paralyzes that side of the face and looks a whole heck of a lot like a stroke.
Yeah, that's the fun stuff you deal with.
It worked out really well. It was a dog that had just been flown over from Hawaii. Huge, extreme changes in altitude. His eardrum burst, and we thought he was dying of a stroke. He's not. He's fine. He's completely comfortable.
Thank God.
But now you know.
You see all the weird stuff. I mean, and that's what's good about getting to know a good vet too. And you know, talking. I do too. I mean, I just FaceTime with them yesterday. We had a dog in there, and as you work more and more in this industry, the more you're going to see these vets over and over, especially if you start to have elderly dogs.
That's another relationship that you need to strategically pursue. And of course, you do have to find ones that are more along the lines of your thinking. But I love my vet so much that I drive from Bastrop to Cedar Park, which means nothing to most of you probably.
Nothing.
It's about an hour and 20 minutes through Austin traffic to get to her when I have a vet 2 minutes down the road who I like and I trust them for regular exams and stuff. But if anything's weird, I'm gonna drive all the way out there.
Yeah. I have an old timer.
More clients than. I don't know. She sends me clients all the freaking time. It is such a wonderful relationship. Yep.
I have my old timer out here. Actually, they follow the page, so they'll probably see this old timer. But he was making me laugh yesterday about they were talking about how he wanted to get on his Harley. But whatever, that's a totally different conversation. Oh, please, would you remind me? Oh, nice to listen to your passionate point of view. You're awesome. You're awesome, Tosh. Tosh is amazing. She's down in New Zealand.
Woo! That's where the hobbits live. I like hobbits. What?
Will you please tell the name of the lady in Wales?
It is. If you look up, just put
You're making me laugh.
Are you able to type this as a response? This is how it's spelled.
Okay, here. Hold on. Let me get down there. Wait. Maybe I can. How come it's not letting? There it goes. My computer's being slow. Okay.
Kahla. She's gonna hate me for doing this too, by the way.
Awesome. I want her on this. Tell her, see if she'll.
I would love to see that. She's phenomenal.
You can come on her with her if you want.
Oh, she'd want to smack me, but she can't because she's in Wales.
That's right.
Kahla is her first name. Her last name is Delaney.
DELA what?
Delaney, probably.
I think I'm friends with her.
You probably.
I don't know. I don't know, but we'll see. What's Larry say here?
She's
gonna
so
go
smart.
open a bottle of wine. Enjoy your wine, Larry. Wonderful having you join us, buddy.
Wine, Larry.
There's her bottle of wine. All right, and then I think that's good. You know, I think that. Do you have anything else? I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, and
thanks for just randomly picking me out of the haystack. I guess super weird, but
this is a great conversation, you guys. So, and then we'll post up Adrienne's page when I find out what it is.
That's not necessary.
Your business partner is going to be like, "Man, what are you doing?
No, it's okay. No, please. I strategically, I really want to make it like a really intimate, small operation. I think that's kind of what I want to do. I want my clients to be involved in my page. I want my page to be relevant to my clients. If things get shared outside of it, awesome. But
you want to do things the way you want to do them.
I'm really not doing a lot of marketing. I'm doing things. I get clients by taking dogs into town. That's how I get clients.
Yep. By doing it.
And then, of course, word of mouth, which is just the
Bye,
best.
Linda. Linda's dipping out, too.
Bye, Linda.
So hold on, Adrienne. I'm going to say goodbye to you in the studio, but we can say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for joining us. Did you just go? I can't hear you now. What happened to you? Oh, there you go.
Oh, one dad joke. One dad joke each.
Okay, yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
You first.
Oh, crap. Put me on the spot, man. I'm expecting you. I don't have one. Anybody? Dad jokes are welcome in the comments. So stupid jokes. Let me think.
All the dad jokes.
Here's one that all the kids get mad at me for, but I love it. So why did the elephant stand on the marshmallow? So he wouldn't fall into the hot chocolate.
That's not a dad joke. That's a 3-year-old's joke. Like we said last time, that last joke you told me, it made no freaking sense.
Dude, I love it.
Do you want to hear my favorite, when I was growing up, my favorite 3-year-old joke?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Pencil.
Pencil who?
Pencil fall down.
Pencil fall down. What? Pencil fall down who?
No, that was the answer. But here's the
pencil
thing.
fall down.
Yeah, right. But as
you want to hear my knock knock?
As a child, I did not realize that it was supposed to read as pants will fall down. I envisioned a gigantic pencil coming up your stairs and knocking on your door, and when you open it, he falls downstairs. And I thought that was the greatest thing ever.
There you go. You want to hear my knock knock?
Dinosaurs talk. Alex wants to ask everyone why the dinosaurs can't talk.
Why can't dinosaurs talk?
Oh, it's because they're all dead.
They talk through their bones. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting. You already know this one. Where does George Washington keep his armies?
I don't know where.
In his sleepings. Duh.
Army sleeveys. See?
Army. What
sleevey
is a pirate's favorite letter?
R.
You'd think it's an R, but it's really the C.
All right, that's the best one to sign up on. Bye, everybody. Let's see.